Feel like we have. Doesn't appear like we have any members of the public here, so we can jump right into our first discussion topic with more of just like a conversation with the folks. Some of the young folks from the Littleton Business Chamber. I appreciate y'all coming tonight. Just kind of talking about potential collaborations and ways that we could partner together in the future. Because I know one that we're still working on getting off the ground is we're calling like a seminar series called Littleton 101. And one of them that we're doing, like the first one we're looking at is like basically like real estate or like how to like maybe purchasing your first home or townhome or property. And another one we had looked at was potentially like what does it take to start a business? Like, because a lot of people have that aspiration, but they don't really know the ins and outs because there's a lot more to it than just making an Instagram page or whatever. That we feel like maybe partnering with y'all or other businesses in the community could be helpful to kind of put together like a short seminar presentation just for folks in our age demographic to learn that information. But are there any other ideas or things that anyone from either group has that they think would be a great thing to like a joint venture to work on together?
Interesting that you say that. We're doing ours quarterly, and so we're just setting up still not somewhat of a networking event, but we're gonna have guest speakers talk to us about how their buildings through this, what they went through, and have an open questions for them, so that people can know what they went through, what we're doing now, how did they get to where they're going. We're starting that February 20th, is our first one. Join, check it out.
Where was that at?
There we go.
Yeah, that'll be 5 to 7 on the 20th for the first one. And then that's advertised pretty much to the general Littleton public for anybody 40 and under to attend for free.
All right.
We're also hoping to do, just some games and kind of networking stuff as far as like getting to know each other. We already have groups that do the leads groups and stuff like that. This is more of a learning from each other as much as possible. Yep.
While you're looking that up, is it just kind of geared towards being like an open share of knowledge of just like, hey, here's what I know, or connecting, or is there any sort of like target, I don't want to say audience, but kind of target audience that you're looking to?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that we're trying to do is bring not only entrepreneurs in the Littleton area that are young, but then also the employees that are wanting to get to managerial positions or to eventually create their own business, to learn from other people that may have taken those steps already. So there's also no exclusivity like a lot of the other stuff that we have going on through the Chamber of Leads groups in particular. This will be open to just anybody that falls into that age demographic and within Littleton or works in Littleton.
That's awesome. I love the idea of like extending it to employees too, right? You don't have to just be some person, but you can actually like, I would love to do this on my own one day instead of move up the ladder and move up and out. That's really cool.
Yeah, I just talked with, there's the game store on Main, because I just went through Main dropping off the flyers, and one of the employees there is trying to start his own, like, creating his own games. So that'll give him the opportunity to meet other people to, learn about the distribution, things like that. So I think that's where extending it to the employees just opens up that many more people they can learn, or may not even realize that that's something they want to do to broaden that. That helps.
Also a nice place for, other businesses to kind of let people know, hey, I'm here. We're planning on letting them know about the Open Rewards program from economic development. A lot of different things, and really, I think we met a lot of people that just by handing out these flyers and talking to people, we've met a lot of people who were interested in joining the business chamber, but like didn't know much about it. And so I've been handing out her email like, contact this lady. You know, you and we're telling them, you know, if you want to send some of your employees, we can, you know, teach them and let them know, and maybe we learn something from them as well. You guys think you're interested in maybe joining us on the 20th?
How comes?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'd be a great opportunity.
These
Yeah.
two questions.
One, just be there to support you all, but also to, you know, kind of help guide and direct as needed, and I think it's a great opportunity for that collaboration piece. And who doesn't want to go get a beer?
And do you want?
Well, it's February 20th at Denver Beer.
Did you go, Robert?
Oh.
Just barely.
I still have a beer. In the corner, out. Most things.
I know.
But we've definitely come a lot further than we did the last time we met with you guys. Donald has joined our group and he is on top of a lot of things. And so we're hoping to see a bigger turnout this time. We've been talking more about what we can do next. We would like to do some fun stuff. Not there at the moment.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, because I mean, to your point, you know, you come a lot further than the last time we all got together. What did you do, or what did you change that you're feeling that momentum's really kicking in?
We all sat down and we agreed on, okay, who wants to do what? A newer person kind of joined our group, a marketing person as well, who has done work with him and Corey before. And so she's really helped us reach the community more than we were, because we didn't know who and what and where and how, and we've kind of gotten a better. And then just going door to door. Donald's been going door to door. I've been dropping off pamphlets and pieces, and I wish I had some flyers. Do you have any flyers on you?
In the car, I do, yeah, I can bring some, I can go grab some here in a minute, and then, yeah, I think the other thing is, you know, broadening the reach that it has as well, so it's online, and not just in the email newsletters, through the chambers, so that has broadened, you know, the doors to who's able to see that this event's happening. And then we also have, so it's what, Meetup, Facebook, LinkedIn are the three online sources that are being utilized right now to just inform the community that it's occurring. And then, like I said, on Maine, most of the organizations are aware of it and their employees are attending as well. And then obviously Corey has her newsletters. They continue to go out to let everybody know, which is a big proportion of it, so.
I would say too, the chamber has grown a lot since the last time we were here. And we do, if you buy a business membership for $250, you can send as many people from your business as you want, and we try to encourage them. So like this evening, we just had a Women in Leadership Networking event 4 to 6. And so there's one company that just joined, and so there's one lady that comes to the women events. There's one gentleman who's gonna go to the young professionals events. So they're kind of dividing and conquering. And so as we get these bigger companies in, that's what they're doing, to make the best use of their membership, but also engage all of their employees. So we kind of have a place for everyone now. And I think that's part of why we have a regrowth again too, is that our numbers are much better now.
Always a good thing to see those.
Yeah, so that's really good to hear.
You talked in the past about kind of expanding. You know, down.
We're way past downtown.
Yeah, so can you tell?
Oh, so right now, Brian was calling us today, the Greater Littleton Chamber. So we let everybody join. Anybody is welcome to join. You know, we try to keep the ribbon cuttings. We did actually one in Sheridan yesterday. They don't have a chamber. We do a few on the west side of town, you know, unincorporated Littleton, Jefferson County goes out to C470. We had a lot of people that joined at the beginning, because they had a Littleton mailing address and then realized that maybe it wasn't a best fit for them just because they had the Littleton mailing address. But right now we have businesses in Denver, Tech Center, Centennial, Inglewood, Rossboro, Douglas County, and Highlands Ranch. So we're pretty much everywhere. Next week, we do a twice a year we do happy hours or a business after hours with the Chamber of Inglewood. So next week we're going to Inglewood. We hosted one in Littleton last May. So we do at least once a year do a partnership with the Inglewood Chamber. Trying to do those two with some other chambers, just again, to get the word out and just build those collaborations. Especially with Inglewood, we're so close. And then with Sheridan, Littleton, Sheridan and Inglewood have, you know, some staff that work for all three in the Tri-City program. So we're kind of all working together with resources. And for example, our Women in Leadership group, Inglewood doesn't have one. So we're working on ways to maybe build some kind of a membership that will allow those ladies to come to our women's events. And so we're trying to work on different things with that too, with this whole area. So we've got a lot of moving parts. We just started a Latino business committee for Latino businesses. That one's gonna launch here in another week. So we have philanthropic committee, we have the young professionals, we have women in leadership. We have the restaurant hospitality committee that does now Littleton Restaurant Week, and they're doing a passport program this summer. So we're constantly adding these committees and businesses, and so we're getting people of all ages into the chamber. And our numbers, as we were just talking, we obviously lost some at the end of December, and I'll be presenting this to council on Tuesday. We've been very fortunate. We probably lost 30 or 40, I'm guessing. Just normal people that join or were out of district, or we had some businesses closed. But since, as of today, from the 1st of January, we've added 25 new members. 3 today. So I'm struggling to keep up at the moment. They're just coming everywhere and it's really great, but we do have a lot coming from the Douglas County area. So we are growing very quickly.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that is really great to hear. And another thought that I kind of had, just kind of spitballing potential like partnerships, because I know like Littleton does like a restaurant week. We potentially maybe work on something with the city of doing like a new businesses or like get new businesses to Littleton sort of event, with mostly the focus on the young professionals, because there are a lot of the people who are starting up new businesses in the city. Have like a new businesses around town weekend or something that we could promote and make happen. As both the NGAB and the business chamber, just to kind of help those folks get a little bit of advertisement and also just like a footing in the Littleton market.
Absolutely. Economic development knows who comes in. We're also partnering with the Economic Development Department for Small Business Week.
Okay.
So on May 8th, we're doing a half-day session over at Kiln. It'll start at 2. We're gonna do an hour AI presentation. And then on the opposite AI, where you're using computer assistance, the second half, we're going to be doing networking. We've got a couple of, we have one member especially who is really good at networking and building those relationships personally and how it really helps. She's got like a system she's kind of developed. It's pretty cool. And then we're gonna have a happy hour where you get to practice your superhero. That's what she calls it, your superpower networking. But it really is building those relationships that help with the business. You know, you can put your name out there, but if you're not going out and meeting people, it's gonna be hard for you to be successful. So that is something we're doing with the city, and we are taking over our partnering to do the State of the City event this year on May 14th. We're inviting, we've moved it to a bigger venue so more people can come. David's helping with that, which is phenomenal. The prices, we're gonna keep at $35. We're bringing in sponsors to help with the cost that offset the ticket prices. But we're hoping to have at least 250 people there and really open it up to the community to come and hear what the city's doing and the mayor, and we'll be presenting our business of the year as well. So that's May 14th at 7 a.m. So those tickets will go on sale. Well, we've got them on sale on our website, but we haven't really announced it quite yet.
Awesome.
Okay, that's good to know.
So I'm curious, as we're kind of discussing about, how can we help, some of those younger generations think about being engaged in the community and grow their potential businesses or future businesses. It seemed like I'm being reminded that there was a some kind of mentorship program built in this? Am I making that up or does that exist?
So we just partnered with SCORE. We've come to an agreement, and so we're gonna partner with SCORE. I don't know if you know what SCORE is. So I know very little about SCORE. I've met with them twice. It's a national organization, but it's basically retired and semi-retired professionals in all industries that go out and mentor young entrepreneurs or people in business. And so we're going to partner with them. They offer all kinds of online trainings, and then we're going to do a workshop with them on emergency preparedness for business. But he's been working with these guys on also coming in and maybe offering mentorships with our young professionals. So we will have not just chamber members, but also the SCORE group coming in to help with the mentor program. So I think Donald's already met with him once, and I've met with him once, and today we worked out the plan. So that was an email we had today. So they're officially a partner now, and we'll be doing more with them. So I think that will be a great resource that we'll be able to offer. We'll see. I don't know much about them. I know I get their emails of all their trainings. They do all kinds of trainings, and they have hundreds of mentors here in town. In all different areas. And I think you can have, you'd probably know more than I do, but I think you can get a mentor that's more intense, or someone who's just is like a one-time thing.
Yeah, they have like a onboarding thing that you can do to figure out who's gonna be more your style. And then they'll usually have you meet with 2 to 3 of their mentors just to figure out who you actually mesh the most with. And then some people end up with 2 mentors, one for, like the guy that runs Littleton right now focuses more on mentoring on marketing and how to do that effectively. And then there's people that can focus on the business development, so how to actually create your business plan, strategies, things like that. So they can also bring in the other mentors from Denver, and I mean, they're all over the state now, but they're trying to grow the Littleton
And I
area.
believe there's no charge.
No, there's no.
Yeah, that was a follow-up question, right? Cause that's what
They don't
No,
charge.
they
them?
do it for volunteer, and so that's why they were gonna come in as a nonprofit, but they don't charge for what they do. So we're doing a trade to have them be a part of the chamber, because they don't really have a lot of funds, because they do it all for free. They do have a website, so I'm guessing they do some donations and things, but
Yeah, they do donations, and then some of their webinars online, before they make them free, you can pay to view it live, and then you can ask questions. But they're pretty low cost, they said.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know that.
so you'll start seeing those on our newsletters and things going out. We'll start sharing some of those webinars. They'll be on access to all of our members also. And pretty much anybody can go to their website and see them. So kind of excited to add that part. And not even for the young professionals. I think anybody starting a new business at any age, if they can partner with someone who is knowledgeable in that field, it will be helpful.
Are you seeing very many businesses closing because people are retiring, or people who are wanting to sell their business or move on from it?
I had one lady that wasn't renewing because she's retiring yesterday, and she's a personal coach, so she's closing our coaching business, but overall, no. Not personally.
Well, I was gonna ask, does anyone else have any thoughts or things that we could potentially work together on a joint venture?
Well, how are the seminar sessions that you guys are wanting to start hosting? How are those coming along?
We're planning our first one for, I think it's the second weekend of March.
Okay, and do you guys have any information, like concrete information that we could bring to the 20th, or someone that attends the 20th that could bring?
Yeah, we can have hopefully more information for y'all
Okay.
by then, because we're still trying to shore up all the details and figure out specifically where
Okay.
we're gonna do it and how much budget we get from the city for like snacks and different things.
So is that the one that you reached out to me to set up for you?
No, that was, this one's on, like on real estate and like first time home buying. But that's why I was talking about this could potentially work with, or like partner with y'all for something on entrepreneurship and starting your own business, maybe later in the year. Cause we initially we're like, we should do one a month, and we're like, that's a lot. Let's target like one a quarter.
That's why we went with the 1 1/4 rather.
So we got a little bit more realistic with our expectations and are trying to get the wheels moving on making that happen.
They do have a speaker for you, and I had her lined up for March, because originally that was what we had talked about, so when you're ready. Maria Frietta, I don't know if you guys know her from LPS, she was a teacher. She's now retired because her business is so darn successful, we've nominated her for Business of the Year. She created a product called the Knockbox. And actually, they're gonna talk about it on The View on Monday morning. Not Maria, I guess they're just showing it. But anyways, as we were looking at her financials, as she's being nominated, in 2021, when she first did it, she built this product out of necessity after her father passed away, creating a file system to maintain records. She made 200 and I think 60,000 in 2021. Last year she grossed 27 million, and this year's predicted to do 36 million. So I think she would be a great, you guys had talked to me about doing that, but to have her come talk, because she was a teacher, first of all. So she's really good at presenting that, but also she's got the experience of what she's just accomplished and how she got started and how it worked. So she is willing to do a presentation for you all. And she's speaking at our women's conference in April.
Well, and I mean, the real estate thing can be flexible if you already have that scheduled. Or if you've already talked to somebody.
But she said she would do it, and we had kind of talked about it. She asked me about it the other day because she is speaking for us in April. So if that's something, she works in the same office as we do. But I just think it's sometimes better to have someone, I mean, I was a teacher and I taught business, but to have someone in the process of what she's accomplishing. She's going international this year. What she's accomplished in the last 5 years is pretty phenomenal. And she's just a really easygoing person. She's just very easy to relatable. So I think she could be a really great fit for you guys.
Yeah, I was like, that's a stellar speaker with ties to the community and like you said, a lot of success over the last couple of years.
What is her product called?
It's called the Knockbox, Knockbox. It's called Next of Kin. It's on social media. She spends, what did she tell me the other day? 7 million a year in marketing on social media. Like $120,000. No. I think maybe, what was it? I can't remember the now. It's like 25,000 a day. But her sales are about 120,000 a day. So, yeah, the numbers are just like beyond me. I was just sitting there reading this going, if she doesn't win Business of the Year, I don't know who's going to. We've got like 8 nominees, but I'm just looking at this going, holy cow. So she's pretty phenomenal. And like I said, she's willing to come speak with you guys and I just think it would be a great fit.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
She's good. Her calendars are full though, so we have to, in between her things, her products have been on Good Morning America. They're going on The View on Monday. She's had a lot of opportunities. So, she was at our event just a little bit ago. I just talked to her, so. If we give her enough time, we can make that happen.
Yeah, I was like, we'd probably, the spitballing probably be sometime later in Q2, so we could give everyone.
She's got her daughter going to college, so she'll be taking her daughter to college, so.
Oh, that's good to
Be
know.
prepared of that, because that'll be probably August, I'm guessing, late August. I think she's going to school up in Vermont. So, she will probably be, so.
That makes sense. Is there anything else that anyone wants to talk about? For like co-working or joint ventures? If not, sorry.
No, I think this was insightful and helpful, and I think, the more we can partner, at least if we can have presence and support. It seems like we're pretty aligned in terms of like what we all want to achieve of some young presence around, and also, just continue to grow the business. I think that's everyone's goal here, so stay in close contact.
I know I've talked to Mike and Robert and Mike, Ms. Jen. And I know this was Kyle's initiative and I really think we are aligned to support one another. And we do partner with the city in a lot of different things. So I think there's definitely a way we could help. And Sam and her, Samantha and Jamie and Will were doing great. Donald, we brought in, he had been working with the young professionals down in Durango at a different chamber. So just having that different, a different experience to kind of add in has really helped. And then bringing Jordan in to do the medias as we're, like I said, joining and bringing in new members to the chamber, we're starting to direct them into different ways. So I think this committee can go pretty quickly, but I think we can definitely support you. And if you're looking for speakers, we've got 200 and plus business owners here that we talk to a lot. So we can pull a lot of speakers very easily for you.
That's
Or
awesome.
panels, if you wanted to do some kind of an industry panel, something like that, we could certainly help with that.
Yeah, that's awesome, and we really appreciate the support and like the willingness to work together in environments, make Littleton better across the board, whether it's in government or business side. I think we can definitely coalesce and work together to make a better city for all of us, so. And thank you all for your time and for coming today, I really appreciate you joining us for the first bit of our meeting.
Yeah, these two are great. If you guys need anything, and Jamie, works for the city, so they're very involved with business here in town and they're just really great to work with. So I hope you all take advantage and work together.
Yeah, thank you.
That piece of chocolate. It's kind of bogarting the chocolate over.
That's all right.
In the house.
We just had a whole sweet chocolate buffet at the Wendy's event.
Wow, what?
Yes, now I need to.
So
go
wait, I
eat
couldn't
some,
go to
like,
that
real
or
food.
the.
And I'm sorry, I don't think you can do the Latino one. I can't do the Latino.
No,
one.
I'm sure I would be welcome, but I would not,
Yes. Well, this first meeting, they want just Latinos they're creating their voice. So
all reasonable.
I know, there's just certain things we can't do. I'm too old to go to this one.
Guys, it's nice to see you.
Have a good night.
Awesome, so
I would have fall out of my pocket.
our
In there.
discussion topic is actually talking with David Gilbert over here from the City Communications Department about, now we had talked about potentially a newsletter. Talking with him about like what's all involved with that.
Sure, yeah, hi, for folks who haven't met me, I'm David Gilbert. I am the senior media strategist for the city of Littleton. So I do newsletters, e-newsletters, our print newsletter, and I do social media. Here, I brought some, has everybody seen this thing?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, hopefully it's hard to turn around in Littleton without encountering one of these. So this is kind of one of our primary products, Littleton Report Print Edition. This is my assistant Russell. Russell, can you say hi?
Hi, Russ.
Hi, Russell.
It's coming.
Looking sharp.
What are you reading about, Russell? Can you say it? What are you reading about? Can I show everybody?
Star Wars.
Very cool.
That's awesome.
Droids.
Good job, buddy. So communications. What kind of droid is that, Russell? Very cool. So our communications, we do a lot of different stuff. And this is a year in which we are gonna be trying to do a lot more. We are in the process, a little bit of background about our department. We're in the process of getting a new director, which is gonna help us kind of figure out where we're going from here, how we're gonna be doing communications. So I appreciate you guys coming to me at this juncture and kind of talking about that. I am wondering if, maybe before I get too far, you guys might want to share a little bit about what you're thinking about a newsletter, what kind of your concepts or hopes are.
I think the initial idea was just to update people on what we're talking about in our meetings and what this group is finding to be pressing or important that's going on in the city, or maybe like changes we might want to see, or just different things, and bring that awareness. But I don't know, what do you guys think?
No, I was like kind of, like you were sharing of a lot of young people are very underrepresented, especially when the city does surveys and gathers information. And if we could kind of slowly build our own network of that, of getting feedback from people, but also like doing joint ventures with either the city or other like different groups within the city, like the Littleton Business Chamber, to kind of like educate and inform people about those things. So just kind of like a way to build a communication network to folks who might not be as plugged in, especially people with like children and that working age where you just get so busy and seem to forget everything.
Tell me about it.
I also think we wanted to be like a little bit more concise, like more hot button topics. I think part of what it started it is the recent discussion of new development rules in Littleton, and that we were realizing there's a lot of people who didn't know what's going on, or how that might affect them. So because obviously like there is a newsletter, there's a lot of information going out, but maybe doing something a little more short form or putting it, like I kind of like the idea of bringing back the newsstand on Main Street and doing like a question above it, like topic of the day, yay or nay, and letting it be like something where you have chalk there and people can write there, like put their tally under something, or I don't know, something interactive that makes people stop and pause and say, oh, what are people thinking about this subject? And then it gets them thinking a little bit more, because I think we're so inundated with like so much information and so much politics these days. And having it be something where there's one thing that people can focus on and it catches their attention in a way that makes them be like, oh, I should look into that a little bit more.
Are you in charge of the social media too?
I'm not sure if I have to say in charge. I operate a lot of it, yeah.
Cause that's another thing is, to your point of concise and to the point, instead of like, I already think the government's website and like just finding information is like so hard, that maybe like putting it short form on stories on the Littleton Instagram and then doing polls that way. But then it's just making sure people are actually following the Littleton Instagram. I follow it.
Thank you. I'm glad. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. Any other thoughts outside, any other, goals or hopes that you guys have? Because I can certainly.
Yeah, I think, echoing what everyone has already kind of said, but I think really the idea, or the dream is, how do we kind of create more awareness for the next generation, right? So they can feel like they have that voice, and it seems like something that's shorter, interactive, because let's be honest, we all have short attention spans. So, if we can kind of like hit that population, then it just gives them that space for that inclusion. And that's kind of, I think, what we'll achieve here. And then, use that platform also for, messaging of like, and Gavin, this group are gonna be here at this time to talk about this, come join us. Just use it as kind of a secondary platform to, kind of share that information. So that way, with little ones or, who knows, right? They have that access to.
Yeah, absolutely. Cody, did you have anything that you wanted to add to what these guys are saying about what you guys are hoping to achieve?
No, I think they summed it up pretty well. I think it's just, getting news and information out about things that we're doing, as well as other things that are relevant to young people in the city, in a timely manner, and just, thinking through how to best distribute that so that most people are gonna get access to it.
So I think what you guys are saying is really interesting for a couple of reasons. So first off, the first thing I will say regarding an NGAB newsletter. I did chat with the city clerk about that. From what she told me, she said that an NGAB specific newsletter would be, there's not a ton of precedent for individual boards running their own newsletters. if that was a route you wanted to continue pursuing, it would probably require you to be having some discussions with the city manager's office and the city attorney's office. Because there's not a lot of precedent for it. What I will say, if that, you know, is not the most, productive route, there's other things. I mean, one thing is, we can work together on getting, you know, if you guys have specific, programs or initiatives or anything else that you do want to get the word out about, do talk to me, because, you know, we can work on that through social media, through Littleton Report, through our e-newsletter, and that sort of thing. One idea that Colleen Norton, our city clerk, suggested was we might end up doing some kind of a roundup of news items from different boards. If there's kind of a, you know, if different boards wanted to be making reports that we're putting out. So that's one piece. The second piece that I would say is actually, I mean, kind of what I'm hearing is, you know, the housing issue, the zoning issue that really came to a head in January. You know, spoiler alert, it has been spurring a lot of discussions inside City Hall about how things are communicated, about how initiatives are discussed with the community. Another thing I can say is our internal analytics, our awareness of our own work is that we know we're not reaching the younger set as well as we would like. There's different reasons for that. And you know, part of it is that just across the board in general, government isn't terribly good at reaching the younger set, because that's a demographic that maybe, like you said, too busy, you know, that just that isn't penetrating into their world as much. But the fact that you guys are having this discussion, that we're having this discussion, and the fact that we are bringing in our new director soon, who is going to help us, hopefully be leading us into kind of modernizing and approaching our communications in a new way. Hi, Pam. Is something that, I mean, I would love to be working with you guys on how we do that. I would love to be having some further discussions with this board about, you know, what are some effective ways that we can start communicating. You know, and I can tell you, I mean, you know, our approach has very much been, let's try and, you know, put out vetted, useful, relevant, accurate information with links to primary source documents. Let's lay that out. You know, let's make sure that's out. And if you look at our Facebook, if you look at our e-newsletters, I think we're hitting that mark, you know, in terms of like, yeah, I think we're putting out, you know, I mean, the information is out. But is it in a format, isn't it enough formats that are gonna reach other demographics? Probably not. Yeah, you know, I would be interested as we go forward, as the communications department brings in our new director, as we start looking at new methodologies to reach people, that I would love to be having a conversation with you guys. I can also tell you that, you know, we are looking at broadening our scope. And it's kind of funny, we were having this discussion today about, you know, could we be doing more with text message notifications? We see some of our neighboring municipalities. I live in Englewood, and I'm signed up for their text notification system. And I like that. We don't have one. You know, and the funny thing is we're going in that direction. And then the other direction that we're going at the same time is looking at, we haven't done a lot of mailers in recent years. We haven't done a lot of postcards in recent years. And partly that's because over the past decade or so, the big hoopla in communications world was, oh, we have social media now. Everybody's on social media. It's free. You know, the city doesn't have to spend a bunch of money or go to a bunch of effort to go on social media. And so you started to see places pull back on mailers as a result, because mailers take time, they take money, these sort of things. But we're actually seeing that come back. And a funny thing is, there's actually, we've been having some discussions lately, we're actually seeing more people across different demographics pulling back from social media. We're actually seeing people across a lot of age groups saying social media has gotten too nasty. They're saying it's bringing a bad element to my life. I don't want to spend all my days scrolling endlessly through stuff that pisses me off. You know, and we're seeing people say, you know, and also people who don't want to support the sort of people who run social media platforms at this point. So, you know, this idea that, oh, wow, the new panacea is here. Social media is where everybody communicates and where everybody is. So all we have to do is post stuff on social media and call it good. Like, those days are fading away. And so, you know, if it's becoming this more multifaceted thing, if it's text notifications, if it's postcards in your mailbox, and it's still social media, and it's, you know, continuing to do this thing, which hits every mailbox in town. So, you know, it's just gonna keep being this discussion about, you know, what are more broader methods. So that is something that you guys absolutely would be very useful in helping us understand better. Is like the under 40, under 30 demographic, how do we reach those people?
Okay, I have a thought. So Khaki and I actually, we're in real estate. We started, there's a house in Wash Park that we used to walk by all the time where they have the statistics on the housing market in Wash Park on a flyer. And every time I walked by the house, I'd pick it up because I was curious, like what houses we're going for, etc. So we put mailboxes in our yards with our personal newsletters. People pick those up. They're empty all the time. So if you had, and I mean, they're like $30 and they look fine and you get like a nice Littleton sticker on it or whatever. But if you had those in parks or places where people were walking trails with, instead of sending out mailers to everybody, because I think that does get wasteful, but having them at key parts, like where you know there's a lot of traffic happening and people can see it and choose whether they want to grab it or not. I think that makes a lot of sense. And I also think having whatever mailer you have in there at the time being like one topic. So focusing on one topic, and I think doing like a pros, like what the people who are for it are saying and what the people who are against it are saying. Because I also think our generation has just become very distrustful of media, government, all of those things. So having it be like a pros and cons or like both sides of the table represented, I think it'll just create a level of trust with people that I think is missing a little bit right now. And straight to the point, and I know it's something I would pick up if I was like, oh, there's a new topic. I can look real quick at what people are saying is good about it, what people are worried about. And it doesn't even have to be that all the time. It could be a new business or something like that. But I think that could be, I don't know, what do you think? Would you pick something like that up?
Yeah, I probably would. But I'm also notorious for picking up anything that's free, so. But I think, you know, kind of building on that too, because, you know, the idea of having a kind of like a quick grab, right? And then the opportunity, yes, get some chocolate. The opportunity to like have a physical or an electronic version, I think are, you know, equally as important. And that's kind of where I was thinking a little bit too, is like, you know, however we kind of choose to message that out, whether that's, you know, having a section in the Littleton report or something like that, right? I think two thoughts kind of came to mind as you were talking a little bit, is that I think our generation, this generation is very much keen to like, what's the call to action here, right? Like we're just inundated with the news, but it's like, what do I do with this, right? And the other thing too is that most of us have grown up behind a screen to some extent, so we unfortunately sometimes feel we have a stronger voice when we don't have to maybe come to, you know, city council meeting, right? And so I think that's also a deterrent. So giving that opportunity of like, you know, if you want to weigh in on the new housing, you know, contact, you know, this person or email here or do this, right? Instead of like, come show up in person, because no one in that age group is gonna show up, right? So I think there's some opportunities to explore, like, how do we give that voice through, you know, heavy foot traffic areas to, you know, quick takeaway, and then where do we direct you?
Forgive me, I'm not texting somebody else, I'm taking notes.
So you're fine, I'm using. But I think that's, you know, kind of where I agree with what you were saying, David, of, you know, the stronger partnership that we can have, you know, throughout the year, and as we're kind of gearing up for things, and, you know, kind of have really strong campaigns for key things that come up that, you know, this group would strongly advise, like, be part of this. Come show up, whether that's virtually, or if you're brave enough in person, we'd love to see you in person, but if not, you know, exercise your voice here, and, you know, maybe there's a QR code on that, right? So,
Yeah.
you know, minimize the resources, but make it direct.
I also think that, like you said to begin with, Littleton, and you are already putting out such great information, like in the Littleton report, but only a certain sect of the community is actually consuming it. And so, like, I think that is where Instagram could be an asset. Like, just personal anecdote, like with our newsletters, if we really want people to read it, we'll like post it on our story with the link and be like just like a highlight, like covered this, and then link it to the website that the article is actually on. Cause then you're also creating like a increased flow of that demographic to the website, and who knows what else they'll find once they're there. That's where we get 90% of our clicks.
I think like a big thing with our age too is definitely conciseness. Like I like the idea of keeping, if we did some sort of handout or, you know, definitely for social media posts, but keeping it to one topic. I think, you know, more concise communications, but more frequently is better than long communication less often, because I think, you know, sometimes you look at some of these newsletters and stuff that maybe have 10 different topics. I know I get one, I'm like, oh, that looks interesting, I'm gonna read that, but I don't have time to now, and then you never actually revert back to looking at it.
That's such a good point.
I think you guys are absolutely on target. I think this is kind of the discussions that we've been having internally too, is, you know, I mean, one thing that kind of came out of, you know, the discussion about how the zoning proposal was communicated was this idea of, okay, so if we've got this e-newsletter mailing list, but we're only using it for every 2 weeks, we send out a full newsletter, could we be using it more frequently for single issue topics? You know, and then, so, you know, I'm curious, too, on these, what do you guys, have you guys encountered other, agencies or entities in which, you do receive text notifications, like SMS texts? And if so, I mean, do you see that as valuable or a way to kind of, you know, make inroads with that demographic? Is that useful or less?
I unsubscribe because I get.
Yeah, I was like, I also
Yeah.
don't like texts, when people text me information or like a big newsletter, I'd prefer that in an email format.
I'm also worried about spam all the time. Like something pops up on my phone, I'm like, do not trust. Like, red flag it, don't open it, don't click the link because they're gonna hack your
You're
phone.
gonna steal your information.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So, and same thing, like, I do think like Cody said, like the shorter, more concise topics more often is good, but then like over emailing, it gets spammy.
Yeah.
So
But
it's a fine line to walk.
Can I ask David's question a little bit of a different way? Have you seen other examples of other agencies who you feel have communicated effectively in a way that works for you?
Dang it, Dennis, that was gonna be.
Well, I was like, one that I was like, I know it's like contentious for government to get involved with like TikTok, but I know like Instagram Reels or Instagram Shorts. I know a lot of friends, that's where they spend most of their time scrolling. Cause I know they used to have, I don't know if the city still does, the little around town with Jim where he'd do like a little couple-minute
Yes.
video, something like that, but make it 30 seconds, a minute, and just have it on readily accessible. So when you're like looking through Instagram, you're like, oh, this is the city manager, and you might click on it to see what he's talking about.
The Washington State Department of Transportation TikToks are awesome. They're really good, they're hilarious.
I think that's, yeah. Right, like even taking like the headline from every, like all the articles that these are the most important things in the Littleton report. Just taking the photo, the headline, putting it on a story, linking it, and then you can have 10 of those. And then people can just click on the one where they're like, oh, that actually interests me. I didn't have to read a whole paper to get to the one article that actually affects my life.
Interesting.
I think for me, bullet points.
Yeah.
And repeated format, like the emails I get where, I sound like such an old person, but where I know the format of the email and I know if I wanna look for certain things, where to look for it, and when it's in bullets, so I can skim it real quick and be like, these are the key points. For me, I'll read the bullet points all day, but when it's long form, like Cody said, I like have to, I'm like, okay, I wanna read this, I'm gonna find time, I'm gonna find time to read this.
Yeah.
Where with bullet points, I just naturally do it. It's not like a pause and let me gear myself up for it.
Can I go back to the text message thing?
Sure.
So I was thinking about that, cause there's one that I absolutely love, and it's when I would get a text from Lost Coffee, usually because I was getting like a free coffee or a discount. But when I would get that, it would be, yep, I'm gonna make time for this, I'm gonna see what it's all about, I'm gonna go. But then they started changing a little bit where they would actually do like, you know, cause they have some applications now of like, oh, we're doing this at this place and this at this place. And it was a good way to get that information, but it created the habit, not saying that we're gonna offer anything to them, but you know, it created a good habit for me to be like, I look forward to this text instead of the one where it's like, I know this number, it's probably gonna, you know, steal my information if I open it, my phone's gonna break.
What set that one apart? I mean, what was it about those texts that stood out or that?
It was weird. It was like the right frequency of it, right? So it wasn't weekly, it wasn't quarterly, but it was like.
Blue or green,
What's that?
blue or green. The text.
And
Oh,
if you have an
I don't have an iPhone.
I was like, I also don't have an iPhone, I know they're talking about.
They don't have a color on mine. That's my lost text.
Oh, interesting.
But I have a really old
I
iPhone.
feel like a component of it is like if you subscribe to it as like a reward
Yeah, an
number, it's
opt-in.
very different than an unsolicited text, cause like especially during campaign season. You
But
get like 15 unsolicited texts,
Yeah.
like, who are you supporting them?
But if you opt in and you just like right away say like, hey, this is, you know, so-and-so here, right? That sounds like a spammy approach, but you know, the idea is like, the cadence was always like right around when you're like, I feel like I need a coffee or feel like there's an event coming up, right? And so you don't overdo it. So I think if that was something that just is always registered, and I haven't gotten a text from them in a long time, so I'm a little sad and bitter about it, but maybe that's what I'm talking about now, but I think that was something that was a healthy like text campaign. And the follow-up to that was, you know, do we have any control over our NGAP webpage to kind of customize that for what we're all talking about for delivering information?
Yeah, it's interesting, you know, I mean, I always feel such an inferiority complex when Inglewood is doing something better than Littleton is. We kind of have this funny Pawnee and Eagleton thing going on, and I'm not sure exactly which side we always fall on, but you know, it's interesting because, yeah, Inglewood recently started up, they've got, you know, an opt-in system for their texts. And so, you know, I mean, I try and keep up on what, you know, neighboring municipalities are doing, so I just signed up for every damn thing. You know, like, sure, tell me what the, you know, rec center is doing, tell me what, you know, planning commission's doing, whatever. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know, I mean, it's interesting that, you know, maybe there is, you know, I mean, and it's partly, you know, what we've done is, you know, we've had this idea for a little while, like, well, you know, if you just throw the same information out there on a bunch of different platforms, you know, hopefully somebody will snag it from wherever, you know, it happens to be. So, you know, and we've kind of done that in a sense where like, you're more or less seeing the same thing, like if it's a 200-word article here, it's also a 200-word article on Facebook, and it's also a 200-word article on Instagram, and it's the same on, you know, on all these different platforms. But I mean, I'm wondering about, you know, tailoring it a little more for some of these, you know, I mean, like, the idea, I mean, you know, Instagram stories, I mean, yeah, you know, being able to link as opposed to just a standard standalone Instagram post, actually going to stories instead. And I will tell you, I mean, if you follow, by the way, I do encourage you guys, if you haven't yet, check out our Visit Littleton pages, if that's not something that you're following yet. We've got Visit Littleton on Facebook and Instagram. That's the city's tourism initiative. And, you know, and generally the idea is, you know, and I'm involved in that work as well. And generally the idea of Visit Littleton is, you know, we ask ourselves the question of, the idea of those is, does it make somebody who is outside of Littleton want to come visit Littleton and come spend some money here ideally? So, you know, that's marketing, the museum or town hall arts center, or, you know, Little Jam concerts or these kind of things. But that's been a little bit of our sandbox lately of kind of trying out some of these new approaches, because we know that the city accounts are pretty dry. But, you know, Visit Littleton is where we've been giving ourselves a little leeway to, you know, shake things up a little bit and try some different approaches. And we are kind of, you know, and we are kind of dipping our toe in Instagram stories and reels and things like that on that side of things. So if you want, take a gander at some of that and see if that's, you know, if we're getting closer to hitting the mark there. Yeah, but no, I mean, I think it's all very useful.
I did have one more thought on the text. I'm remembering, I used to get texts when I lived in the Highlands, and I opted in. It was like a business. I kind of forget what it was called. But basically, they would text me every Thursday to be like, this is what's going on. Like, these are fun date nights, these are good hikes, like that kind of thing. And then maybe if the texts were like monthly or bi-weekly, being like, this is what's going on in Littleton, and like restaurant week, this is what the council's talking about. And just have like one that's like fun, one that has to do with politics or the council or whatever. And then I don't know, like one other bullet. Like, I would opt into that if it was like
I agree.
once or twice a month. I think if it's more than that, I would opt out.
And I think having it be a little bit more event focused is what people are willing to opt into.
And then like,
You wanna know if restaurant week is happening, you wanna know if there's a deal.
Honestly, having something also that you could like kind of select what you want to subscribe to, like, do you want just the events, do you want what's happening at
that's
city
what that thing's
council?
called.
Have like a tiered of like maybe 3 or 4 options of different things that you wanna
Yeah, and that's
receive
kind of,
information on, cause not everyone's gonna care about council.
right,
There are
and
some
that's
people
kind of
who are not gonna care about the restaurants and only wanna know about council.
Yeah. No, and I like that, because, yeah, and then maybe that's our chance to be like, you know, hey, 5 great brunch spots, so, and also you guys might wanna know about this zoning thing.
Yeah, but I do,
Now that
kind
you're
of like how I'm like, for the next gen, that's how you sneak it in here. Like,
Yeah, right.
cute speakeasy, rezoning your whole neighborhood.
Right, okay. Yeah, no, I love it. Any other thoughts at the moment? I want you to know, I mean, this is like, you know, this is absolutely where our department is trying to go right now. I mean, this is like, these are totally the discussions that we're having up there on the second floor all the time lately. Is like, okay, we've been doing it this way for a long time, you know, and we know we do some things right, but we do know that there are, you know, I mean, it's just, you know, this is a field that changes all the time. You know, and that it's evolving all the time, and that there are a lot of ways to do it. So, yeah, it's something that we absolutely, you know, I would, you guys could be very, very valuable to us for that effort. You know, and like I said, especially, you know, just as we move forward in this year, the simultaneous, you know, the outcome of the whole zoning thing, where a lot of people were saying they felt like they didn't hear about it, as well as, you know, bringing in some new direction, or like, yeah, that's where we're at.
One last comment. I know with like Instagram and stuff, it's like post this many times a week, so your algorithm does whatever. My recommendation would be don't post fluff. Because when I get on a government website, I'm like, I don't, you know, when you're looking through and you're like, I don't care about any of this. And then you're not gonna follow it. And I feel like it's such an easy trap to fall into where it's like I'm posting something just for the sake of posting. Being like, yay, like this is going on,
And the feed
but it's
wall
not
maybe.
really
Yeah.
important to anyone.
Yeah.
I would really avoid that because I think everyone is just so exhausted by that.
There's less information.
Yeah.
You know, you can go down some mighty deep rabbit holes when it comes to SEO and all these kind of things with social media. You know, there's people that's all they do, you know? And so, you know, it's interesting. I mean, you know, in an department like ours, we have to be good enough at a whole bunch of different things. So yeah, but that's all, that's good advice.
One question I have, I know you said it would be kind of difficult for us because it's unprecedented to have NJB specific newsletter. But in like kind of the spirit of increased transparency and just making the public aware, do you think having like authority boards and commissions, maybe quarterly newsletter to get an update on what all those folks are doing? 'Cause there's quite a few different authorities, boards and commissions, and I think most people don't even know they exist, to be frank.
Yeah, I absolutely think that would be valuable. One thing that we started doing just recently, after the big housing meeting, was we're doing city council preview posts across a bunch of different social media platforms. And that's, you know, the idea is ideally at least a day before the meeting, we're putting out a post that says, here's the bullet point. Like, here's the stuff that's gonna be talked about tomorrow at city council. Here's how you can watch online. Here's how you can go attend in person. Here's the packet that they're gonna be working off of. And, you know, and that's something that we have been doing more passively in the past. We had, you know, well, you know, here's the website where you can go read a council packet if you want, but we're trying to be a little more, we're trying to put this in front of you. Like, you know, hey, here's what they're gonna be talking about. Here's when and where they're gonna be doing stuff. So, yeah, but a lot of ideas are on the table, a lot of ideas are very welcome, right?
So Dave, what's the best way to keep some momentum going? Do you want to take these ideas to your team and then we call you back? Or do you want us to kind of keep ideas?
Keep an eye on your Instagram and Facebook pages in the coming weeks when we announce the new communications director. And when that happens, invite them to come talk to you. I'm useful enough, but see if you can get that new communications director in here. Talk to you. And invite me back too. It's fun to talk to you guys. But yeah, that would be, so yeah, I will take this back. I will take back some of what you guys are talking about. But yeah, that would be the next steps is get our new director in the future.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you, David. And Russell.
Thank you.
Thanks, Russell.
Thank you. You say thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Anything else for me?
Nope.
Okay.
That's great.
All right, Russell. Ready to go? Okay, good job, boy.
That was technically our last agenda item, but I
Does anybody want one of these things? They're out in the lobby too.
I already have one. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, cool.
I appreciate you just have an entire briefcase of those. Not just that.
But it's like an old dude briefcase, like.
It's classy.
You know, we're talking about the fact that despite the fact that I'm the media strategist, I'm spiritually a boomer.
I am a Gen Xer.
Nobody remembers you guys.
Oh. All right. That was officially our last discussion topic, but I realized something I forgot to put on the agenda is discussing our adulting 101. We were looking at that first weekend in March. Would that work for both of y'all to like present and put something together, and then we need to shore up basically which date and where we.
I think that's has to happen first before we reach out to people.
Yes, that's fair.
I reached out to Kiln and they said they could give us their, I have a whole email. They sent me like a whole cute presentation and we can go check it out.
Oh, nice.
But they said they'll just do it for free,
Oh, wow.
which is super nice.
Yeah, I think that'd be really neat to highlight them as a newish business in the city.
Yeah, and kind of as a sponsor. Here, let me see if I can.
Go hang out with Corey, cause that's where.
Yeah, there's a lot of folks that work out of there regularly.
Sorry, I should have been.
Did we have the budget or anything like that figured out?
It's like their question. Chris, did you ever hear, did you talk to Mike or anyone from the city manager's office on that, or should I reach out to them?
So for snacks, is that what you're talking about? in
Yeah.
particular? Yeah, you guys have a decent size budget for snacks. It would depend on the event size and how many people you anticipate are coming, but that is something that the city manager's office can providing.
The space I could get for free can only seat 75 people.
Only, I don't think
They
we have.
normally charge 300 an hour in there, so I think
Yeah, I think that would be more than enough. And which, I know we had floated either the 13th or the 14th, or no, 12 or 13th. Which of those work better for folks? Slash, do we wanna try and lock down as our date?
Either work for me.
I would prefer the 13th if possible.
okay, I'm good that day.
Is that March?
Yeah.
And what time are we thinking? If that's a work night, thinking 6:30, 7.
I think 6:30 is really hard, cause I think people,
That's why I think getting off of work and if you have kids and stuff like
it's so hard, and then with dinner, like people trying to like, I think you either have to have it like right after work so people don't have time to go home. That's what I would recommend doing. I would do it at like 5. And have it be one of those things that if you're not on time, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
And 5:30.
Yeah, 5:30.
Yeah, that's what I think gives just a little buffer if you're getting off of work to.
But I think if people have the chance to go home, they're not gonna come.
Yeah.
It's like they have to kind of go into their day knowing.
We could do like a soft start at 5, presentation starts at 5:30.
Yeah, like
a networking.
kind of
Yeah.
networking, yeah.
Kind of, those are the most important things of when and where. And I know in the past, was it you, Mackenzie, or Khaki, one of y'all made like a little marketing brochure for previous like thing? Or you-
Yeah, that was me.
Okay, I was wondering, I was like, would you wanna do that again, or would you want, I could talk to David and see if he can put that together for us. And I know, I was like, we could get him to try and put it on this Littleton's official social media and stuff, I'm not sure how much reach that'll get.
I would just have him do it.
Okay,
Yeah, cause just with the timing and everything, cause we're not gonna
Yeah.
have a time to all meet up and go over it.
yeah,
And he knows what's allowed and what's not allowed.
that is true.
But we just might wanna provide some more information, cause when we've done these in the past, we've had a lender come
Yeah,
and discuss, which I think is what you want.
yeah,
So that's
a big part of it.
right, it's the financing. So we have several that we could reach out to and see if they're available to do it. And you'd probably wanna advertise them.
That would make sense, we could, but like, almost like sponsored by at the bottom. Um, And what would we wanna call it, like, for an official name, so when I start like giving David all this information, I know it's like it makes sense to get logos from probably y'all as the real estate presenters, our lender, and then Kiln, cause they're posting it. Like those three on the bottom and maybe the city of Littleton. And then,
I think you just would want it to be like super clear, like, what do we call them, like
Adulting session,
first time home buyer seminar.
yeah, first time.
Yeah.
Home buying 101.
how do we feel about adulting 101 first time home buyer?
Yeah.
That name.
Okay, that gets the wheels moving. Okay. I can reach out to David and talk to him about making all that happen. I'll let you all, cause you probably know what lender to have those come present. And then if you guys could give me, if you guys have a logo, then a lender, we can put them on the bottom of.
And I'll confirm this, the time and date with
Where's the
Kiln,
Kiln?
and I'll just CC you on that email.
Okay, awesome.
I don't know if you know this, but does Kiln have a calendar? They could put this on.
I can ask. Yeah, I think he mentioned that. Yeah.
And when would we want it to like tentatively be? I'm assuming like 5 to 7?
I think 5 to 7:30.
Okay,
And then I think if we're doing printouts, we should print out some extras so Kiln can have it on their desk, so
oh
their
yeah,
members
and I was like,
can
I would
have-
definitely, once we get. print out.
7:30? 2.5 hours, that seems long.
Oh, yeah, wait. Well, I'm thinking that's 30 minutes of just people settling
And then an hour of speaking.
and an hour speaking.
I would do 5 to 7.
So,
Okay, yeah, that is, and yeah, I was like, I can definitely,
Yeah.
I know several of the businesses in downtown Walk and like Jake's and other places have like little public boards that we could definitely put it on in downtown Littleton. Get a little bit more visibility outside of social media.
I think that's great.
Yeah, cause then you'd have a half hour for like getting settled, an hour of like speaking.
And 30 minutes for questions.
Sweet, I think that kind of answers and gets everything we need for that. That kind of wraps up all of our,
If you guys wanna email us too, like questions that you think are important to address, we can make sure that the lenders have that.
okay, yeah, I can definitely think about that. I just went through this process, so yeah, like there's definitely lots of questions.
And if just thinking, cause they're gonna have, the lenders are gonna have a slide, and since it's the theater room, there's gonna be like a big screen.
Yeah.
If we want, if like our board wants to have like a little slide, just being like, we're one of the sponsors, this is what we
Yeah.
do.
Oh, I like
Self-plug
that, I like that.
Before the lender talks, then
Yeah,
we should make sure we send that to the lenders to include in their presentation.
yeah,
We could also introduce it too.
yeah,
Either one. I
Just,
just,
it should be like adulting session, home buying 101, hosted by
Yeah.
Next Gen.
yeah.
Exactly.
I like that.
And then you can do a shameless little plug and then introduce it.
I feel like we talked about doing events to, also doing a survey on issues that people think are important, or I think you guys worked on a survey for the, yoga thing. Do you want to do a QR survey at the end?
Yeah, I think doing that survey for that group.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm just thinking like from the screen point of view, we're not gonna wanna have to like plug in multiple computers.
Yeah.
So I think we're gonna want all of it on one presentation, which the lenders, I'm thinking will be totally fine with that.
That makes sense, so we can leave that up at the very end, like when everyone's leaving, be like, hey, we're gathering information. Sweet. That is really good. Thank you for that, Robert.
Old man comes in, fine.
That knowledge and wisdom.
Damn it.
We should send if there's someone at ACC too, or that'd be a good place to advertise it.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
And I can send it to Will Kurtz. He's a teacher now at, gosh, what's the school called?
Epic.
Epic. Thank you. Okay.
Sweet. I think that kind of wraps up for that and all of our discussion topics. We can move to our comments and reports. Does staff have anything? Comments and reports.
No comments from staff this week. But if it's possible, I'll give my few minutes to Pam if she wants to.
Oh, yeah, it's like Pam, would you like to have public comment?
Oh, gosh.
You don't have to say. We kind of threw you on the spot there.
I was thinking, I forgot what I was gonna say, but I remembered it, so,
Yeah, I was like, go for it.
yeah, thank you. My name is Pam Chaparral, a block and a half, or a block or whatever from here. I wanted to talk about something I want, in the city. And, the city is proposing Project Downtown. It's $140 million, which the city has to go into debt for. The city to go into debt, is talking about two different scenarios. One of them is putting up assets as collateral. That would be like our museum and library or buildings or something, which I think is an unacceptable risk for a city our size and nature. The other one is to go to voters and get a different type of debt. But either way, I don't think it's appropriate for our city. What I do think is appropriate is something reasonably sized and appropriate risk, which is creating an added overlay historic district up Littleton Boulevard. The first steps are already done. Colorado Preservation Inc. in 2014 identified the commercial mid-century modern on Littleton Boulevard as one of the 5 most endangered places in the state of Colorado. These are people who know what they're talking about. That was over 10 years ago. It took us 4 years to get the next expert study, and that's the next required step. And that's completed too, commercial modernism, it's on the city website. And you can go, they evaluated 4 tiers and and they made recommendations. The city's done nothing on that so far, but they have tossed it, they put forward Project Downtown, which benefits one of our 11 economic centers. It doesn't expand anything, so what I think is much better for the city is to expand our economic reach. Historic districts raise all boats. They're great for small businesses. They pretty much guarantee a certain amount of volume and attention, and they're more resilient in downturns. So we expand our economic reach. We expand our historic assets, and mid-century modern, I guarantee you, is only going to get more valuable from here on out. The problem with our city management is our city management never even presented that alternative. They never presented to the people, here are some alternatives about how we could expand economic opportunities for small business and et cetera, et cetera. I also want a circulator bus up and down Littleton Boulevard so people can get on and off. And I think right there, it's low cost, low risk, probably high return very quickly compared to the idiotic and risky Project Downtown. So thank you for listening to that, and for your consideration.
Yeah. Going back to our next comment / report, does our council liaison do anything, Robert?
Yes, I do. Okay, so I wanted to give you, we've had a lot of things that have happened, and a couple things kind of looking forward. So just to kind of nail down where we're at with the missing middle was the zoning conversation we had. And on January 7th, we voted to postpone that indefinitely. But we also, the mayor asked the city council to come back, or the city manager to come back to the council on the 28th of January around proposals of what would be the next steps. And the city manager, or the mayor was focused on thinking about whether we should move forward with duplexes as the kind of the change, where we would focus on allowing duplexes on lots. At our meeting of the 28th, the city staff recommended that we postpone the missing middle conversation until next year, saying that essentially we had other things they wanted to focus on, including the project downtown, and I'll give you a little update on kind of where we're at on that conversation. So the council didn't vote, but the majority of the people on the council said we accept your recommendation and we can postpone this until next year. So the missing middle conversation at this point will start up again come January. So that's where that is. The other thing we did is we've appointed a new city councilman, and he's just, I think, a little too old for this group, but I'm not sure he's 40. So we appointed Joel Zink, and Joel is a district attorney who lives down near Stern Park. I think we had a lot of really good candidates. We interviewed 7 of them and were able to come to an agreement. There's only 6 members after Gretchen was gone. So we did have a 3-3 split initially, and then a vote flipped and Joel was selected. And so Joel's hit the ground running. He's already done a ride around with the police, and I know we toured the museum. Did you tour the library too? Yes. Yeah, that puts him one step ahead of me. I haven't toured the library. So I think he's been a good addition. The other thing just to be thoughtful about is that, there's 4 members of the council, including Joel, that'll be up for re-election this fall. And Joel indicated that he was, during the interview, we asked everyone who interviewed whether they would run, and Joel said he would run if he was elected. But I think there are other people who are interested too, and so it'll be an interesting election. A couple things that just I think are interesting that you guys might want to know about. We got a presentation from the police at our last meeting around kind of various technologies that are being used around town. There are some of us on the council who are very interested in using radar technology to enforce speed limits in different parts of the town. And so the police chief gave us an update on that. I think that conversation is going to continue. There was also a conversation around services around license plate identification services. And the way he described it is there's a service that's being offered that is being used by a lot of private entities like shopping malls and HOAs to kind of monitor who comes in and out. The police chief recommended to us not to move forward with that technology for the city. He didn't quite feel like it was ready for prime time. And then the last thing he talked about was the use of drones. And one of the most interesting things, well, there's 2 different things he talked. The last thing was second to last thing was drones. The new thing in public safety is drones as first responders. And so it is his belief that within the next couple of years, there's going to be 1, 2, or 3 drones stationed across the city. And whenever there's an emergency called out, the drone will be dispatched to that emergency to take a picture of what's going on and give the police or the first responders kind of, this is what's going on. Oh, it really is a bad accident. Oh no, it's not a bad accident. There's 2 people standing by the road. You don't have to put people in danger with your lights and sirens on, those kind of conversations. Or, oh yes, there is a guy with a gun and you probably need backup. So that technology is probably coming to the city soon. And then the last technology he talked about was the use of AI. And I thought this was both interesting entrepreneurship, but just interesting in general. The company that we already pay now to store all of our police camera footage that gets stored for a month. They now offer a service where they can use AI to take the transcript or take the data from the video and create a first draft of police reports for when the police respond to something, like first draft of a burglary report or things like that. And the police department is gonna proceed with testing that out over, I think, next year. So I thought that was interesting. Second to last thing, we had a trash summit. So since I've been on the council, there's been lots of interest around the conversation of, do we need 14 different haulers in town, and can we improve the services offered? There's a lot of interest in composting. So we're doing a joint project with the cities of Littleton, Sheridan, Inglewood, and Centennial around kind of the trash services. And two things that came out of that for me: about 50% of our waste from households is compostable. And so there's kind of an opportunity to increase composting. And we have 14 haulers in Littleton. And if we took an opportunity to reduce the number of haulers and increase the economies of scale, it would increase the likelihood that the haulers could offer more services to our residents. And so I expect that to be a conversation the council has in the fall this year. And then the last thing is Project Downtown. Project Downtown is probably going to be one of the big conversations the council has over the next year. Right now, at our last meeting, when we talked about Project Downtown, we agreed to proceed with phase 1, which was costed out at with a very conservative cost estimate of $30 million. For phase 1, and the conversation, I think, about debt would be about paying for $25 million worth of that with debt. There are two different mechanisms that we are considering. General obligation bonds are when you put the full faith and credit of an institution behind a debt. And that means essentially, if we went bankrupt, that the creditors would have first dibs on our tax income. They would get those revenues before the city got the revenues. And general obligation bonds are a very standard thing. When I was on the city council, we issued $340 million of GO bonds. So that's kind of the standard thing. But that would require a vote of the public. The second top kind of standard debt tool that's used by a lot of governments is called certificates of participation. And those, for certificates or COPs, when those are offered, that's when you put up city assets as liability. So full, GO bonds, full faith and credit, you get a little lower interest rate because they have direct access to our tax revenues. Certificates of participation a little higher, but not much higher interest rates. But I expect that we'll be continuing to have that conversation around, and in fact, there'll be a presentation on debt at our study session next week. Any questions?
For phase 1, has that been decided what that is? Because I know.
So that's the two main blocks of downtown. So it would be a lot of infrastructure redevelopment, bumping out the curbs to reduce the walking for people to cross, rebuilding drainage systems and things like that. A big part of it is building new boxes for trees so that we could plant more trees and put those into place. And then there's and I think, quite frankly, one of the things we need to be able to do is have a really clear description of that and kind of be a little more parsimonious, because I think we're going to have to kind of narrow it down to $25 million and be able to have a conversation. Even if we don't go to a vote, I think it will be part of the election. I mean, people are going to be asking about that. So we have to be really crisp about that, and we're not 100% there.
In regard to the council's vote on zoning,
Yeah.
if it was postponed indefinitely, is there a reason it's gonna come back up in 2026?
So postponed indefinitely refers to that particular ordinance. Like we shelved that ordinance. But I think I have interest, and I think there are other members of the council that are interested in still having a conversation around creating more options for people in the housing market.
Is it something that they're gonna open up to voters?
Putting it on the ballot is not part of our current conversation, but it's possible. I mean, the thing we're thinking about putting on the ballot right now is the general obligation bonds, but we do have that option.
Proposition HH was voted no in, what was that, 2020? Last year. 3, and then this was like voted no on again, and it's just interesting to me that it's gonna come up a third time.
The conversation around housing, I don't think is gonna go away.
Okay.
I think that's, I mean, I went to the economic development breakfast that South Metro Housing, or not South Metro House, South Metro Chamber put on this week, and you know, Henry Sauvanet was the economist that spoke, if you know who he is, and you know, growth in Colorado has slowed, and a big part of the reason growth has slowed is because people have slowed moving to Colorado, migration to Colorado has slowed, and he said, you know, migration to Colorado has slowed, and this is the same thing that demographer said 2 years ago, is it slowed because it's too expensive to live here. And he said one of the reasons it's too expensive is because of regulation, and that's code for zoning. So I think that's this conversation around making how we make housing more affordable is not, I mean, it's gonna be part of the legislative conversation too.
Yeah, makes sense.
Does anyone else have any questions for Robert?
We are also interviewing, next month, we'll be interviewing, new applicants to boards and commissions. And I believe there'll be some new people on this committee, come whenever that is, come April. So we're those interviews. I think we have 6 or 7 applicants. And we have a lot of applicants for boards and commissions. We have 70 some odd applications for 20 some odd spots. And so we're probably, usually in the past, we've interviewed everybody. And I think we're gonna do a kind of not necessarily a vote, but a nomination amongst the council members of who to interview. So I actually have to finish my nominations tonight.
Awesome. Then we can move on to the boards or the comments and reports from the board. I will start with mine as the chair. I know the agenda today was a little bit different than what we had talked about. That was because some of the stuff that we were wanting to talk about, the city wasn't quite ready, but a lot of it we're looking to bring to our March meeting on top of like finalizing our planning for it. Stuff about like the LDBA and those other topics. And Safer Streets, because Safer Streets is about to go present, I think sometime later this month to city council, and they needed a little bit more time to get stuff together before they were willing to come talk to us. So they'll be here in March, hopefully. And then kind of going off of what Robert said, it is time for like the new round of appointments, and with that, I figured I should be the one to let all y'all know. I did not reapply to be a part of the NGAB, so March will be like my last term. And the reason for that is I'm actually running for city council. So I'll be focusing my efforts on that latter half of the spring and moving into the summer and election season. So just figured I would let all y'all know.
I told you it was gonna be an interesting election.
Yeah, well, I was like, I've already talked with Colleen and there's a lot of interest, so it'll be exciting. But yeah, that's all I have to share for my report or comments. Does anyone else have anything that they want to share or bring to the conversation before we close out?
Well, congratulations on choosing not to reapply for us.
It was a tough decision.
We get it.
It was a really tough decision because I was like, I don't want to do it and then abandon you guys. If I get elected in November, that would be.
No, you have allies, but I will just say, like, I feel like this group has really like found our group. So It's awesome to see all the collaboration and thoughts that we're sharing and the direction we're taking with it, so. It's an extended job team.
Yeah, and like with that, I was like, I definitely won't, like, I'm very interested and will be following, and if you guys need help, I won't just disappear, like, more than happy to, help, especially as we're getting the adulting 101 seminars.
Possibly become the new council liaison.
You will become the new council. I will allow you, I will give you that gift if you get on the council.
No, that's exciting, but I guess I'll adjourn our meeting then. Thank you all for coming.
Yeah.